And we begin with one of many announcements that was made earlier today, including the fact that the Education Ministry has offered to give 100,000 shillings in terms of financial support per family to the families of those who were affected in the Garissa attack. This is just one of the issues that was touched on. Our senior reporter, Aaron Ocheng, was covering that multi-cabinet statement. And Aaron, I know there was more which was said with regard to the students who survived the attack.
Yeah, right, Edith, as you rightly put it, 100,000 shillings is what the Ministry of Education is pledging to give to the families that have been affected by this tragedy. But besides that, the Education Ministry is also saying that Garissa University will be closed indefinitely until further direction is reached. And the students who are schooling there will be absorbed by the mother university, that is Moi University. They will be absorbed in various campuses across the country. Besides that, also, this joint ministerial statement that was issued, the Office of the President also touched on a number of issues, including the closure of several accounts that are suspected to be terror-linked. Foreign Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed saying that they are still investigating those accounts, but as of now, they have frozen them pending more investigations. Edith.
Now, Aaron, before we move on to some of what was said, let's go back to the freezing of those 86 accounts. We did know that they belong to individuals, and there are forex bureaus which have also been closed. Do we know which specific ones and which specific individuals?
Well, the Cabinet Secretary did not divulge much attention as to whether the whereabouts or the owners of these accounts, but she said they are investigating because of a number of issues, maybe to do with large sums of money being exchanged, coming in and coming out. But as she said, they are still investigating, and probably they will get some more information in regard to those accounts, and if not, maybe they will be returned to their owners. Edith.
Now, going back to that issue of the survivors of the attack in Garissa, is this a decision that was reached upon in consolidation or in consultation rather with those survivors, or was it purely a ministerial decision?
Well, as of now, we would call it a ministerial decision because there hasn't been even much interaction between the families and the government, besides the Cabinet Secretary for Health visiting Chiromo Mochri on a number of occasions. So I would say this could be a ministerial statement. I wouldn't say that many of these families have been consulted, but we're waiting to see how far this assistance will go. But also the Cabinet Secretary for Health went further to say that only 14 bodies have not been identified so far, and they're giving it up to tomorrow morning. He said would be the deadline of when they will be able to be fully identify the bodies that are badly damaged. Edith.
Okay, Aaron, just stay with us for a second so that we can just hear a little bit more of what was said in that joint ministerial statement.
The government, under the leadership of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, has put into place elaborate security and administrative measures to extinguish terrorism on Kenyan soil. These wide-ranging efforts include the freezing of all assets suspected to have been linked to the masterminds of the terrorist attack. Members of the public should also remain vigilant to help forestall any further terrorism attacks and security breaches.
Have closed Garissa University College indefinitely. As to whether the students will return to the same college or not, we have answered that question in the sense that we have said all students who have been there will be distributed in the mother university, that is Moi University. Our intention is not to return any one of those students there, primarily because of the trauma they have gone through.
You saw 2 or 3 families claiming the same body. So if you are to release some bodies and then they are the wrong ones, actually you have committed more distress to both families. So we thought to fast track the process, get the process concluded by end of day today, and then give these families the coffins, we have dressed the bodies, and the transport, plus 100,000 shillings. then they can actually now go and bury, effective from tomorrow. So hopefully by tomorrow you see the situation changing very quickly.
So, Aaron, a very rare chance we saw of almost all the cabinet secretaries in one place, but I understand they didn't field questions.
No, we had a chance to ask them a number of questions, especially in regard to the directive by the president that the 10,000 recruits that were recruited in the last recruitment exercise by the police. As you know, Edith, the president said that they should be reporting to the training colleges in Kiganjo on Sundays, rather. So we asked the Attorney General legality of that, because we're still waiting for a directive from the court in regard to that matter. But he said even if the courts nullify the whole exercise, it will be on a number of centers, and it might not affect all the 10,000 recruits. Edith.
Well, thank you very much, Aaron Ocheng, our senior reporter from our City Center studios, just giving us an update from that joint ministerial statement at the Office of the President. Elsewhere, a union of students drawn from various universities in Mombasa today held a procession along major roads in the city to mourn the 148 victims killed during the Garissa University attack last Thursday. Carrying placards, chanting solidarity songs, the students mourned their northern Kenya counterparts, making a clarion call to Kenyans to remain united. The procession later headed to Uhuru Gardens, where they lit candles and made prayers for the departed souls.
We are one. We are one. We are one. We are one. We are one.
We, the students from Moi University, Technical University of Mombasa, University of Nairobi, Mount Kenya University, Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, Kenyatta University, Mombasa Aviation College, in commemoration with Muhuri, Muslim for Human Rights, are here to pass our condolences to our fellow students from Garissa University. It is with deep sorrow and grief that we have gathered here today to remember 148 fallen comrades. As a student, we are united by grief, for we have lost part of us.
Sisi tuelekea wapi ikiwa sisi leo mtu aweza kuuza ardhi kumpeleka mtoto wake skuli, kisha wewe uje umchinje, umpokonye haki ya kusoma? Kwa sababu sisi hivi sasa hatuzungumzi kuwa tutaka kujifurahisha, tuzungumza ya kwamba roho 148 si kitu kidogo.
Together as one indeed. Elsewhere, operations at the Kenya Ports Authority in Mombasa were disrupted this morning as workers in the security department went on strike. Now, the standoff lasted for about 1 hour, making it rather difficult for motorists to get in and out of that facility. According to Simon Sang, who's the Secretary General Dock Workers Union, the workers were lamenting their delayed letters of promotion that were supposed to have been issued last month to a section of the staff. Now, leaders of the Workers' Union issued a 2-week ultimatum to the KPA board to resolve the matter, failure to which they say they will contemplate further action. One person was injured when police shot in the air, apparently in self-defense, when some residents of Bungoma County burnt down Lugulu Administration Police Camp, following differences between them and police officers. Now, according to residents, the officers are shielding a murder suspect, and we're now joined on phone by Robert Wanyonyi. Wanyonyi, what time did this incident take place?
Yeah, the incident took place at around 8 a.m. in the morning when the residents, particularly they were being led by border riders who identified the murder suspect, and when they tried to march him to the AP camp, the information is that the AP officers tried to protect the suspect from being lynched, and then that one angered the protesters who now stormed the station and burned it down.
All right, Wanyonyi, before we get into the details of this alleged murder suspect, let's talk about the genesis of this problem that they're experiencing. When did it begin and how?
Is that we have been having this cold blood, or some issues that have been going on between the residents and the administration police officers for now 2 weeks now. And during that period, we have seen a series of demonstrations all along Bungoma County, whereby residents are saying that the police are not doing enough to shield them or to protect them from insecurity that is rising by the day. So within this period also, we have seen that in Webuye, Kimilili, and towns like Bukembe, we have seen some protests about residents demonstrating against the police. So this one is a culmination of some thought that has been developing between the residents and the police. And now, as we are talking, the Bungoma County Commissioner Mahali Mohammed has arrived and managed to rescue the officers who are still being held at the station, as the station continued burning their belongings.
All right. Now, it does sound rather calm also, just in your background. I assume this is because the county commissioner is there. But going back to the alleged murder suspect, what is the state at the moment? Are they still bungled up in the police station? What's the way forward?
Yeah, the issue is that there's a lady who was murdered at around the Lugulu area last week. And during this period, the residents have been volunteering some information to the police, saying that they know the murder suspect, and now they wanted the police to take action. But since the police were taking long to say they are still investigating, now the residents seem to have taken the law into their own hands. But the latest is that the county commissioner, after arriving, has managed to cool down the tempers and say that the suspect who has been arrested by the police has already led them to the real murder suspect, and even one gun, the murder weapon, has been recovered from the person who has been arrested and taken to Webuye police station.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Robert Wanyonyi, joining us from Bungoma, where that very bizarre incident is happening. Of course, following it for us to give us more details in our subsequent bulletins. Elsewhere, more than 300 pupils at Msekekwa Primary School in Elgeyo Marakwet County have been forced to start their April holidays early after their school was closed indefinitely following a lightning incident that ripped off the classroom's roof. Now, the Tuesday evening incident also affected the nearby St. Francis Kimuron Secondary School, where abolition's blocks, science laboratory and staff quarters roofs were literally blown off to about 4 kilometers from the schoolyard. That's ridiculous. Now, according to Barnabas Kimeto, Msekekwa Primary School headmaster, the institution has lost property worth 300,000 shillings, and they've been forced to close the school before the stipulated closing date, as one can imagine. However, no one was injured during that incident, and as you can see from the pictures on your screen, the roof was literally blown off.
Madarasa mane madarasa mane yameng'olewa na pampati ambao zilisomba hata sikafika shule ya jirani ya upili ya Kimuron Secondary School, na kule katika shule ya upili ya Kimuron pia vyoo 7 ya wanafunzi pamoja na nyumba moja ya mwalimu iliathirika, na zaidi ya haya ulivyo ulienea ukapomoa sehemu la maktaba, na mpaka wa sasa wanafunzi hawana madarasa ya kusomea. Tungetarajia tufunge shule Ijumaa kama vile tumeamriwa na serikali, lakini kwa vile sina la kufanya sasa, kwa vile wanafunzi hawana mahali pa kusoma, hawako nje. Madarasa yale mane ilikuwa ni wanafunzi wa darasa la 4 hadi darasa la 7, na mpaka wa sasa hawana mahali pa kusoma kwa vile madarasa yako tena. Kwa hivyo tunaomba well wishers watusaidie kwa mahali ambapo wanaweza kusaidia, ili turekesha haya madarasa, tujenge kitambo, tufungue shule mula uchao, wanafunzi wapate mahali pa kusoma.
that roof was blown 4 kilometers into the school, yet 4 kilometers is a really long distance. But let's look at a matter that has just concluded. The Central Organization of Trade Unions, or COTU, shops stewards meeting was ongoing but has concluded at the COTU head office in Nairobi, and the meeting was in preparation of COTU's Golden Jubilee, which will be in commemoration of Labor Day. Now, some of the issues the labor movement will be pushing for is the improvement of minimum wage. KTN's Patrick Amimo is currently at the meeting, and Patrick Amimo, as you were concluding that specific meeting earlier on, you did say that that issue of the current wage kept coming up again. So what exactly does COTU want?
Thank you, Edith. With me here at Solidarity Building, the COTU headquarters, where I am with the COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli, and there's been a shop steward forum ahead of the 50th anniversary, which is a golden jubilee for COTU. And the things to do with the wages, minimum wages, has been a running subject here. Maybe, Brother Atwoli, what is the organization doing when it comes to this issue of minimum wage? What do you want to see addressed? Because you've invited the head of state to be the guest of honor during the Labor Day celebrations.
Globally, the minimum wage is supported by the International Labour Organization because we have so many Kenyans who are not covered by collective bargaining agreements, some who are employed by individuals, some who are in very small enterprises as workers. They are always helped by the government to set up a minimum wage per every industry or sector of our economic activities. But in the absence of government coming in and setting up a minimum wage, then it opens a leeway for exploitation. And this is why we are telling the president and the government to be very, very, very careful with what some lobbyists, lobbyists or business lobbyist groups like KEPS are saying, that the wages in Kenya must be pegged on productivity. Kenya doesn't have efficient productivity center that measures. We all depend on the statistics collected by the Bureau of Statistics under the Ministry of Finance. So if we leave it like that, Kenyans will be exploited very badly. It is the duty of any given government or responsible government to protect its employees or workers by setting a minimum wage. This has been a practice here. This is a practice in Zimbabwe. This is a practice in Zambia. Anybody who subscribes to the International Labour Organization conventions must protect workers' minimum wage. So we are expecting, last year, Kambi cheated workers in daylight that by August, government would have regulated minimum wage. He didn't. Now we are expecting His Excellency the President, who is our guest during May 1st. He's the presiding officer. We will be listening to him. He will be the counseling person. He will be the person giving us a word of advice to set up, to increase a minimum wage by whichever percentage that he has been advised by his economists. That is what we are expecting. If we don't do that, most of Kenyans are going to be exploited in these harsh economic situations that we are in. Two, you are aware that the prices on our energy, oil, and other things, electricity, went down. Food and transport has remained, and housing, it has remained constant. It hasn't gone down. So this is directly affecting workers.
Thank you so much. And maybe just as a parting shot on corruption, we see the government is fighting corruption. What do you want to see as workers when it comes to corruption, the fight?
Our position, me and Brother Wilson Sosion, is that those people who have been named, even suspected, they should not come back to government. And we are appealing to anti-corruption. Before Friday this week, people should be arraigned in court. This issue of dallying, that they are still questioning people when there is credible evidence. And if they are not having evidence, they should come to us, we will provide them. Corruption is the biggest sin, and this is the corruption made President of Nigeria, Jonathan. There were two things, Boko Haram and corruption, that made him lose. And we don't want Uhuru to lose 2017. If there will be corruption, and these are our own made Al-Shabaab in Kenya, because these are own, they are not from Somalia. If they are not tamed, then the president will have a big problem in 2017.
Thank you so much, Atwoli. In fact, because of time, we could not go ahead, but there are many issues that have been addressed by workers here, and we expect to hear more when it comes to Labor Day. Back to you, Edith.
Well, thank you very much, Patrick Amimo. From both Patrick and Atwoli, who never ever disappoints, always shooting from the hip. We take a short commercial break. We'll be back with more. Don't go too far. Welcome back to KTN Newsdesk. Let's now have a look at the sports. And world half marathon record holder Florence Kiplagat is among a strong Kenyan field that will line up for this year's London Marathon set for the 26th of this month. Now, Kiplagat is the second fastest marathoner in that race with a personal best time of 2 hours, 19 minutes and 44 seconds. And she is hoping to bag her first London Marathon title after finishing second last year.
Florence Kiplagat is by far the undisputed queen of road running. The 10-based athlete currently holds world record times in the 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers, as well as in the half marathon. As the 2015 World Marathon Majors season takes shape, Kiplagat hopes to stamp her authority in the 42 kilometers race in London.
I've started very well the training for London. You know, I had gone for half marathon, and now I'm fully focused.
You're going into the London Marathon straight from breaking a world half marathon record. Does that make you feel much better, make you feel under pressure, or does it just give you confidence to go out there and do your best?
It's like a moral to me, you know. If I can see the start list of this year, it's terrible. Everyone is there.
And looking at the London Marathon elite field, of course, Mary Keitany is the fastest in the field, you're second fastest. What kind of a race do you predict, and do you actually think that the world record could be lowered in this race?
Sincerely, you know, this is the first time meeting all of us, so I don't think everyone is fearing another one. So I think nothing will be done there. Maybe we can run to 18, maybe.
The two-time Berlin Marathon champion will be part of the strong field assembled for this year's London Marathon. Kiplagat finished 6th at the 2013 London Marathon before coming in second last year behind Edna Kiplagat. Her target in London this year is more realistic.
I don't want to know about the position, but 2:18 is my target.
A trial on the world marathon record is her ultimate goal.
I love myself more than anything else. You know, I like putting my name in the book of records. I don't want to miss it. You know, if you go to peruse the book, I need to be inside there. I don't want it to be buried out.
Kiplagat will be up against a strong Kenyan field that has been assembled for the London Marathon, with previous winners like Mary Keitany, Edna Kiplagat and Priska Cheptoo set to be the race highlights. Lynn Washira, KTN Sports.
Well, it's time to wrap up this edition of KTN Newsdesk. Not before your Did You Know fact, though. I have to admit, I thought this would be useful, but as you'll find out, it's completely useless. Did you know that you can tell identical twin babies apart by looking at their belly buttons, since all navels are scarred not by genetics, but by the detachment of the umbilical cord. So twins' navels don't look the same. That's really interesting for when they're babies, but you don't really need to tell them apart until they're older. So this information is pretty much useless. You're welcome. My name is Edith Kimani. Good afternoon.